So if you want to join our community, you can join us on Telegram. And if you like what we do, you can support us on patreon.com. So today we have a speaker named Neeraj. He's joining all the way from India. He's a product manager at LinkedIn. And he's going to talk about how to become a great product manager, what are the principles required, and what are the tools required. So I'll stop sharing and I'll hand over to you, Neeraj.
Thank you, Kashika.
Okay, yeah.
Let me start sharing my screen. Is my screen visible to all? You can just do a thumbs up. Okay. Thank you. Good morning to you all. Today's talk is about how to become a great PM. And there are multiple aspects to be a great PM. We cannot cover all of them in next 20 minutes. What I will be covering is top 10 tools which have helped me in becoming a great PM. Before I get into that, a bit about myself. I'm currently a PM at LinkedIn. I have around 7 years of experience in 3 industries around mobile ad tech, e-commerce, and AI consulting. In different roles, I haven't been a PM all the time. I started as a data scientist, then moved to a product analyst, and then a product manager. I have interest in other fields apart from product management. The reason I highlighted that fact in the introduction is because I believe having interest in other domains apart from your own personal domain is very important for a product manager. Because as a PM, you develop products for the world, and if you understand the world better, your products can fit into it better. So that's the philosophy. So do follow your own passions apart from product management is the advice I would want to begin this with. Moving to top 10 PM tools. Let's move to number 10. It's awareness. I believe as to be a great PM, you need to be an aware. Uh, you need to be in a state of awareness about your surroundings and yourself. So there are four aspects in which I define this awareness: self, team, company, and macro. Why is self-awareness important? Unless you understand yourself, you understand your passion, your skills, your strengths, and your weaknesses, you cannot take the right decisions for yourself. You may be a great PM on certain kind of products, but a very bad PM on different kind of products. So for making those right decisions in life, you need to understand who you are and what are you aspiring towards. Second thing, I also encourage to folks who are trying to become a great PM is having an end goal of your working life. What do you want to accomplish? That gives you the motivation and clarity in life to work the longer hours or to work on things which interest you. Being a PM is a tough job, to be honest, and it's not for everyone. So unless you are very clear about who you are and what you want to do, it's tough to be a PM. Coming to team awareness, you need to understand the team you work with, and unless you do, you won't be very effective in motivating them to the common goal, to the shared objectives. uh, there are some tips you can use to increase your awareness around the team. Listen to understand, and listen with that intent, and not just reply. That's something very simple yet very powerful. That will work in all your relations, irrespective, not just your team. Be compassionate when you speak to others. If they have a point of view, understand it and then respond to it. And always balance tension between in the team. If you are too much patient as a product team, you may end up missing the right timelines, and you may end up with a product which is already available in the market. But if you push too much, you may end up with a product which is half baked and not up to the standards your customers and your users to want. So you, as a PM, you need to balance that tension when working with the team. Coming to company awareness, you need to be aware of where your company is moving to build products which can help your company succeed. If as what are the ways to increase it? You should know about your daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly data. You should read emails. Now, this is very simple, but yet very tough to do, because if you're getting 100 to 200 emails on a daily basis, you may end up skipping them. But as a PM, it's very important. If you emails, every email is an opportunity to understand your company better. So I would highly encourage not to miss it. Coming to meetings, I've heard this complaint from my fellow colleagues and PMs on having too many meetings, having very less time to work on actual stuff. Uh, but I would like to clarify one thing: that meeting is an actual work. It's not something you do outside of your work. So meeting is a way of getting your work done, and be very conscious about it, and be fully present in the meetings you are in. And if you don't find it useful, don't be in it, but do use it to increase the awareness about the company. And the last is macro awareness. So your company operates within the challenges of this world, within the competitive landscape, within the technological advancement. So you should be aware of that. You should be aware of where the economy is moving, where the political environment is moving. If there are any new regulations, government regulations coming in which will impact your company and hence your product, then you should be aware of it. What are the social and cultural factors? There are some geographies which are more prone towards having higher data privacy standards, some which are not. Culturally, they are different, and you should be aware of it. What are the environmental factors? What change will your product bring in the world in terms of environment? Are you improving it? Are you degrading it? Are you okay with it? You should be aware about it. Number 9, thinking and writing effectively. So as a PM, you'll be writing so many documents, and you'll be thinking about so many decisions which a company has to make. How can you do it best? uh, I have highlighted three big documents which, as a PM, you will need to write. Apart from that, there can be others, and I'll help you understand what is my approach towards doing it better. So the three big documents which I feel you'll be writing is one, product strategy. So before defining what you're going to build, you have to define why you're going to build it. Why now? Why your company? Why is it your strength? Why not somebody else? And why are you going to win in the market? What is your strategy about it? Second, you will need to write product requirement documents. This is the most popular document which most PMs are aware about. However, there is less understanding of what level this product requirement document should be at. Should it talk about the exact details of the product and how it has to be built, or should it talk about the high level vague details of where we are going as a company and what needs to be built? I believe it has to be neither. It has to be somewhere in between. You need to define very clearly what needs to be built, but at the same time, be conscious about the fact that you don't have to get into the how. Leave that to your engineers and your designers to figure out. In fact, they can do a better job at it than you, and trust them with it. So be very clear on defining what do you want and what is the end product, but don't get into the specifics of how. And third, once your product is ready, you will have to launch it. You'll have to talk about it internally, externally. You'll have to drive adoption around it. So you'll have to write blog posts of what your product does, how should people receive it, etc., etc. This is equally important, and some companies do prefer to write the third one in the first stage also. Amazon is one example where PMs are encouraged to write their blog post first and then think about what they're going to build and why they're going to build. So this brings clarity and vision into what you're doing. There are some ideas which I do use personally to think better and write better. I'll share it with the audience. Number one, schedule a maker's time. So there's a very popular blog by Paul Graham on maker and manager schedule, where he recommends dividing half of your day into a managerial setup where you attend meetings, schedule meetings, and meet people, and half of your time for thinking and writing and communicating with the group. I recommend that setup. Next, create a template before you begin writing a document, because that structures your thinking. For example, if you're writing strategy, you can define the current state in which your company is, your product is, the future state in which you want your company and product and users to be in. What are the gaps? And then what is your roadmap to fill those gaps? So that's one four-step framework which you can use. There can be other frameworks, but define that template first and then start thinking, because otherwise you can go haywire about it. Next, interview potential customers. So who are you building this for? Know them personally. At least talk to 10 people or 10 to 15 people. Marty Kagan, who is a renowned thinker and the author of book Inspired on the product side, recommends having at least talk to 10 to 15 end users before building a product, and that's something I would also recommend. Create a core team who can help you. This thinking and writing is a huge work, and don't do it all by yourself. If you can get help, get it from user research, your design team, your data analyst team, to validate your hypothesis. Read a book on the topic if it is available in whatever field you're working on. Talk to experts if you can get within your company. If you can get within the industry, LinkedIn is a good tool to reach out. uh, Research online thoroughly, whatever you can get online on the topic. That's very, very important. And once you have this ready, get as early feedback as possible. Get the quick designs ready, build it yourself. If you have designer who's enthusiastic about it, get him to work on it, but get as early feedback as possible. and get a sense of resources available to build and how feasible is it. This should be done early in the discovery phase. This should not be waited until you have completed your discovery and then you come to know that, oh, we cannot build it, we don't have resources, or this is not technically feasible today. And last, and this is very important, get cross-functional leaders to critique your idea. uh, le- uh, get them to play the devil's advocate. What is wrong with it? What can be improved in your product, in your design, in your priorities, in your strategy? So those are things which have helped me, and I believe that can help you as well to write and think effectively. Number 8, meetings and forums. So I spoke about it briefly in my first in the topic number 10. I'll speak in more detail here. So what are the different types of meetings you'll be attending? It could be staff meetings, quarterly business reviews, strategy reviews, OKR planning, team offsites. Sometimes people tend to miss team offsites for various reasons, but that's very important for building relationships, and I'll talk about it further in future slides. And state of the union meetings, they talk about where you are, where you're planning to go. So these meetings are important. First, I would want to emphasize, you may or may not be required to attend them, but they're important from an awareness perspective. Now, if you are running one of these meetings, here are my suggestions how you can run them effectively. Before starting any meeting, define it very, very clearly. This meeting will be successful if, and if you're not able to define it very clearly, then don't have that meeting. Work on it and then have this meeting. Time of the employees in an organization is an organization's resource. Use it very wisely. Set a clear agenda and stick to it when you are in that meeting. Uh, 1 to 2 page pre-read is something which is recommended, especially when you have more than 8 people in a room, because then it becomes then it multiplies the number of people's time you're going to invest in what you're talking about. Always send minutes after the meeting, because whatever you discuss may not get implemented if you're not very clear about written documentation around it. And be very clear on who to invite. Having an optimized minimized list is better than having 10 to 20 people join a meeting and then nobody gets much out of it. Everybody speaks in the meeting, and which they are not supposed to, and they're not aware because they have been called to the meeting. So be very clear on who you're calling, and be cognizant of everyone's time. Number 7, understanding data and metrics. So I believe as a PM, you want to understand your customers as good as you can. There are a couple of ways to do it. You can talk to them, you can do user research on them, and third, you can validate what they're saying with data. And that's where understanding data and metrics is very important. This will help you understand where your business is going, what your customers are asking for, what your users are asking for, and whatever you're building, is it good on the ground? In fact, data helps you understand your users better than they understand themselves. So sometimes users say one thing and do another, and even they are not very clear on what is it that they are proposing. There's a famous quote from Steve Jobs that I don't do market research, and there's a reason for it, because market research usually tends to uh, ask people on what they want, whereas getting into what they actually do, and data is your tool to get that. There are certain skills which PM needs to have to be good on data and metrics. A basic understanding of how to extract data, something like SQL. One tool for any data analysis, it can be Excel, Python, R, SAS, whatever is your choice. One tool to, and you can interpret those data visualizations better. You have some basic understanding of business statistics. What does those metrics mean in your particular field, in your industry? And if you're not already good at it, don't worry, you can become better at it with time. It's not rocket science. You can easily understand it. Here are my recommendations. Do go through reports which are heavy in data, where people do talk and put across their points using data as the backing point. There are multiple reports which big companies like Microsoft, Google, etc. do send out using data, and organizations like UNO who do rely heavily on data for publishing their reports. Spend time with data analysts if you have in your company. They are good source to understand how data is structured in your company, and how you can pull that out, how you can analyze it. You can take online, offline classes, read a book on statistics. These are some basics. You can explore more. Okay, number 6, public speaking. So as a PM, you will need to communicate what you're building, why you're building, and after you have built, what you have built, and why people should use it. All these things require you to communicate a lot, and many a times in a public setup. So being really good at public speaking will add will add to your advantage. It will be a great tool to become a great PM from a good PM. So how can you be better at it? You need to know your audience. So you may have a very good point which you're putting across, but if your audience is not receptive to it, there's no point. You may be talking to your sales team and you are talking about a lot of technical jargons which they do not understand or they do not care about. But if you talk to them in terms of how much sales you can drive with this new product, they will be more receptive. So you know how to tweak your message to the audience. The same message can be given to multiple audiences depending on their interest. So be very cognizant about it. Know your material. So memorizing your material is not the best approach. If you're very well versed in the topic and you can talk at stretch about it for an hour, that means you are well versed and you do not need to memorize it. I'd recommend that approach. And third, know your passion. As I spoke at the starting of this presentation, that unless you're passionate about something, don't get into it or develop that passion into it. Because when you do speak, people don't just look at the words; they look at your energy, they look at your tone, and there's a research backing this. There's just not just an opinion; it's a research backed hypothesis that you need to have a great body language and a great tone when you're communicating a message. And unless you are passionate about something, you cannot get that. So that's my advice. Number five, understanding AI. As a PM, you have to build products which are best in the market. You have to optimize on resources. You have to optimize on cost. You have to optimize on the customer experience. AI is a great tool to do that. That's at the cutting edge, and it is being used in all the tools you use nowadays. You use music streaming services, you use social media services, you use any kind of services which you use online are built on the back of AI and are being improved as we speak. So that is first step is realize that it is critical. Now you do not need to be an AI engineer, you do not need to know all the AI algorithms out there, but you need to understand as a PM how can you make AI work for you. And that's what I will talk about on how to be a good AI PM. So there are three things which you need to do to be a you need to know to be a good AI PM. First, you need to decide what your AI algorithm should optimize for. To give you an example from ad tech, if you decide that your algorithm should optimize on clicks, and you show ads depending on how many clicks you drive out of it, but your customers do care about the final actions which happen on their website, the sales, or the leads which do come, then you've obviously missed what your end customer wants, and you need to optimize for the end goal rather than a medium or a mid-term milestone. So you need to be very clear on where your algorithms need to optimize upon. Second, you need to have a good understanding of features which algorithms should learn upon. This can be built by getting better knowledge of your business or better knowledge of the users who will be using your product, and this can be developed with time. Third, know what data is needed for your algorithm to work well. So no AI algorithm can work well unless it is fed with the right data, and that's the reason Facebook has been acquiring so many companies with huge amounts of data. That's the reason they paid $16 billion for WhatsApp, because they know data is important for all their algorithms to work. Okay, with that, we are at four. So I'd like to do a quick call out. I've been covering so many topics and they are pretty heavy. So we will be having a Q&A session at the end of this. If you have anything, feel free to note it down and we'll get to your questions. I'm not taking them in between because we have 20 minutes and we have to cover all the topics. Hope that works with everyone. Okay, awesome. Let's move to number four, time management. Okay, as I spoke about 20 minutes, you know that I'm aware of how much time do I have, and that's the level of awareness you need to have as a PM. Of how much time do you have to accomplish what you want to accomplish? You will never have enough time to do everything which you are asked to do, and you'll always need to make the hard choices. What do you need to do? What do you not need to do? Uh, how can you be better at it? My advice is do not schedule every minute of your day. You need to have buffer, and the reason you need to have that buffer is for thinking. So unless you have those buffer times to think better and to write better, you cannot be very productive, and you cannot drive your team to the right output. You should have a set list of priorities for your day, for your week, for your quarter. What is it that matters most to you? And if you have limited time, what is it that you will prioritize in that time period? And your schedule or your calendar, do a check. So if you want to understand whether you're prioritizing well and whether you're following your priorities, just open your calendar and open a list of priorities. Do you think you have scheduled time for the top 3 and top 5 priorities? If they are not aligned, then you're not doing it right, and you need to reschedule your calendar accordingly. Okay, with that, number 3, effective communication. So you would have got from the last 7 points that PM requires to work with so many stakeholders. And if PM is not good at communication, a lot of things break down. Your engineers will not know what to build or how effectively to build it. Your partners will not know what to sell. On the sales side, your tech support will not know how to support the products. Your users will not know how to use the products. So you need to be very good at communication as a PM. 20, in fact, it is as important as 80% of the job. And unless you're good at it, it's very tough to get your products, to build successful products and get them out in the market. I will share 3 big ideas of how to be better at it. Number 1, be authentic. Be consistent with what you're saying. Don't say one thing to one group and the other to the other one. uh, Everybody talks, and you need to be very consistent about what you're talking about to each of those groups, including external and internal. Be very consistent upon what you do, what you say, what you believe, and what you feel, because that's important when you communicate. Second, transparent. If you need to be transparent about all the problems that you're facing with all your teams that you're working with, because everyone can help in some way or the other. This I'm talking about from a very personal experience, and that has worked very well for me in past. And third, repetition. So don't assume that you have said something once, people have got it. And that's something which the best of the leaders do follow. You do hear your presidents, prime ministers repeating same thing again and again in different forums, or your CEOs repeating the same thing in different forums, and there's a reason behind it. In fact, you do hear ad campaigns spending billions of dollars talking about the same thing again and again, because people, because human mind does not work like a machine. You cannot say them something once and they remember it. Also, they need to internalize what you're saying, and hence you will need repetition to make that externalization or internalization work with your audience. So repetition is the key. Make sure you do that when communicating. With that, number 2, develop and nurture relationships. This is something which is not very obvious when you read about PM skills, but that's something inherent to the job. It's not something optional, but very very important. As a PM, you don't have authority over most of these cross-functional stakeholders you work with. Nobody reports to you, and you manage nobody. So how do you make sure they work on the shared objective which you set for the team? You need to have influence built as a result of your relationships with them. And how can you develop that? These are some of the strategies which have worked for me. There can be more. uh, be nice. uh, be nice, and you don't need to agree with your cross functional partners on everything, but that does not mean that you cannot be friends after that disagreement. So make sure that you do what's best for your product, but at the same time, be friends with your cross-functional partners. That's very important, and that goes a long way in your career and in the products that you build. Another important thing which you can leverage is having one-on-one meetings. Schedule it on the calendars. That sometimes get missed with all your important cross-functional partners outside of your team. Inside of your team, like the core team, the designers, engineers who do work on it, know everyone personally, because they are the people who will be building your product day in day out. And if you do not have that trust built with them, if you do not have that relationships built with them, it will be hard for both of you. Be present in the informal gatherings. Sometimes people tend to skip them, but those are the right places to know people better, and prioritize them in your schedule. That's why I've kept this at number 2, because people do not prioritize building relationships in internally. At least people do networking outside, but internally they forget to do it. And have compassion to others' point of view. This is the point I'm repeating, and I'm aware of it. I'm doing it on purpose so that you can internalize it. Show trust and have respect with your actions. So if your engineers come to you with a timeline that this is what it takes, show trust to it, respect it, because they are the ones who know their job better than you, and do not question it every time. That trust is very important. They'll do the same when you come with a strategy. So have respect, have mutual respect. That's very very important. And last but very important, know how to have fun, because you'll be spending half of your working life or half of your life at work, and you do not want to be not fun to work with, and you'll be miserable. Your team will be miserable if you're not good at it. So be consciously good at it. Okay, with that, coming to the last one. This is something which I have learned from LinkedIn's previous CEO, Jeff Wiener. You can follow him on LinkedIn. He has some of the best advices on product management and business in general. His advice is that building a product or building a business is like launching a rocket. If you are off by your trajectory at the launch, even by an inch, then you will be miles off in the orbit when it reaches its destination. And that's very true. If your team is not fully aligned on where is it that you're going, what is your vision, what is your mission, then there's a high chance that they may not be able to build what you envision to build. And how can you do that? Be very clear when you're articulating your team's vision. That's your true north. What is your mission? What are the long-term goals, and how will you be measuring them? What is the value proposition your team offers, and who are you building this for? What is your target audience? What is your strategy? What will be your next 5 to 10 moves in advance, which you'll take to get your product to succeed? What will be your priorities? What should team focus on in the order of priority? What should be your objectives, short-term measurable goals? What will be your culture? How will you go about building what you intend to do? And what will be the values? These are a set of principles which you do personally use while making decisions on the product. Can you socialize them so that people can make those decisions when you're not around, and you can delegate that to your team. Okay, with that, we can move to Q&A. I know this was a lot to cover. Um, Feel free to ask any questions about what I've covered.
Uh, okay, so we have some questions from YouTube. One of them is, how do you use AI at LinkedIn? It's by Alex.
How to use AI at LinkedIn?
How do you use AI at LinkedIn? Like, how do you? Mhm.
Got it. So I can speak to my personal area and LinkedIn overall. So when you work on when you look at the LinkedIn feed and you look at the content which is shared with you on the feed, that is recommended by AI algorithms. They continuously work on understanding your preferences of what do you like, what do you dislike, who are you connected with, who do you follow, what groups are you part of, what skills do you have, and basis that they recommend jobs, ads, learning courses on the platform. So that's one big use case which AI fulfills for LinkedIn. Other than that, if there are any fake accounts, if there is any bad activity happening on LinkedIn, corresponding to bots or fake profiles or fake member profiles, we do detect them using AI by understanding how does a real human behave versus how does a bot behave. So those are some of the big use cases. There are other smaller ones.
Sorry. Do we have question here in the group right now? Okay, so the next question is again from YouTube. It's by Ritesh. Hi, what are some learning resources or books you would recommend for early career product managers?
Yes, so I would recommend. There are a ton of books which I have read and have helped me. In the order of priority, I would recommend Inspired by Marty Kagan.
Mhm.
That's a book about how to build products, what are the right processes in place you should have, and how can you be better at your job. Apart from that, you can also refer to other sources of learning like podcasts, where I do follow a podcast called Yours Productly. It's a podcast where uh, senior leaders in the industry, like head of products or chief of products, do come and talk about their experiences of how they have built products from the top companies. So do follow that. Other than that, I follow folks who you admire over LinkedIn as well. They do tend to keep writing articles about what their learnings are, uh, and what they have learned in their job. So those are some of the key sources of my learning which have helped me.
Okay, super. Next question is again from Alex. Why do you think that you will always be short on time as a product manager? Don't you think that it means that you are being asked too much and it's a sign that the company or department isn't functioning properly?
So that is not because you are okay. So two parts to the question. Will you always have more work to do? Yes. Being a PM is not a easy job, to put it fairly. You will have more work to do as compared to any other regular job, because getting people together and aligning them on an objective, getting it built and getting it out, and then making it work, this requires too much work. And if you do read that book which I recommended by Marty Kagan, it is fairly tough job and you will need to spend time on it. There's no easy way to do it. Now, why will you be short on time? Uh, the reason is you will be getting requests from all sides on what features to be built, what products to be built, and what sales team needs, what operations needs, and what internal teams need, what the users are asking for. So you will always have requests and you will always have a backlog. You will never be able to do everything required. In fact, the reason product managers are important in companies is because they do not have resources to do everything, and hence they need somebody to prioritize on what are the best things to be done. No company has enough engineers to build everything being asked by their users, or no company has enough designers to design what is being asked by their users. PMs are supposed to do that prioritization and build the highest ROI products and features for the users and the company.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have from Elena. She is here in Zoom call. Hi, thanks for these great tips. How long does it take for a PM to start bring real value and to be great?
That's a very subjective question, because that depends on how fast the PM is catching up on it.
Mhm.
Um, However, I cannot define a 10,000 hour rule, which is very popular in the industry, that at any craft you spend 10,000 hours and you're good at it. It depends on the intensity as well. So it's an X versus Y. So there's not only one variable, there's two variable. Time is one variable, and the second is intensity. So if you increase intensity, the time reduces, but there's a limit to how much reduction can be done in the time. So I cannot frame a time to it, but I would advise that intensity is a factor if you want to reduce time. Uh, you will need to learn much faster. You'll need to have more experiences, and you'll need to do more as compared to if you are thinking about minimizing time.
Okay, Alina, hopefully it does answer your question. Moving on, next is working with difficult biz teams. Any tips? By Kama One Hammer. Okay, that's from YouTube again.
Okay, that's a
Uh-huh.
very good question. So that's something which keeps happening. In fact, that has happened almost every 2 quarters in my job. So there will be a team where there will be a situation where you will not know how to handle the cross-functional partners, and how do things work. You want that team to do something, but that team is not aligned on their role and what can they achieve for the product. There are multiple ways. There are multiple steps to how you will handle it. First, understand why that team is not aligned. That's very important. And understand what that cross-functional team's leadership wants. So talking helps, and that's something I have observed not everybody is able to do. So increase your face time with that team. That's one. Understand what is the problem, get to the root of it before getting into the solution. Third, start documenting your learnings. So documentation really helps. It will help you, and it will help the future PM in your role, whosoever is coming, if you're going to hire somebody else in your role. So start documenting your learnings. And once you have full clarity into why there is disconnect, then start working on it. So usually the disconnects are the true north being set for both the teams is not common. Both teams have different metrics, and hence it's not clear. Then you can ask for leadership's help on setting that true north. Uh, Sometimes it's a technological disconnect. Your team understands technology better, but the other one doesn't. So try to pass that information as much as you can. And most of the times it is a simple disconnect in understanding that can be done with spending more time with that partner.
Okay, so we have one question from Gaurav. In your view, what is your perspective of PMs being primarily responsible for top line revenue of their product? What is the experience at LinkedIn?
Okay, so two parts. Should PMs be responsible for top line revenue? I believe yes. In my experience, that's a good setup because you can't make decisions and not be accountable to it. So that's one thing which I do personally believe, that if you are making product decisions, then you should also be accountable for the revenue and for the funding of your team, of how do you proceed on it. And how does LinkedIn work? That's the same setup which LinkedIn also works in. So at LinkedIn, PMs are responsible for their key metrics. They work with their cross-functional partners, align with them, and get the results for the team. So they are accountable for the end results.
Okay, we will take one more last question from Peter. From all the aspects, uh, okay, from all the aspects you presented, what would be the most important one to focus on when planning the step from great to awesome product manager?
Okay, so I think I presented them in order. So that's the order I would suggest. So from 10 to 1, that's the order which I would suggest. So you should first have a very clear vision and mission for your team. Where are you going? And then come down from that order. But I am not recommending that one is not important than the other. That's just a priority.
Okay, thank you. I think we have 2 minutes and maybe just one more question from YouTube. And that is by Sylvia. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very inspiring. Are you aware of some good LinkedIn education about AI or data analysis? Well, that's a generic question. About the
So
cost
there is
insight.
a course on LinkedIn around AI. It's a small course. I think it's around 1 hour to 2 hours by head of product from LinkedIn, by Parmar.
Mm-hmm.
That's around how to be a good AI PM. I've taken that, and that has helped. That's around AI. Around data analytics, there is no one course which I can recommend, but something which has helped. I think reading and working more on it has helped. So the more you read, the more you see the work. So what you can do is, there is a category of data journalists who do write their blogs and who do write their news backed with data. Try to identify them on LinkedIn or identify them wherever they write. It could be CNN, it could be wherever they write, and follow their reports in whichever field you are in. So once you start reading their reports, you'll start understanding how the analysis is done, how the insights are derived, and how the final hypothesis is validated. So that's one way you can learn it. Courses, I don't have any particular preference. You just need to know it from some source so you can decide which one you want.
Okay. So that's all, Neeraj. If you have time, we have certain more questions from YouTube. You can actually, I'll send you the link. You can actually answer them if you have time. And thank you so much for being on our platform. And it was an amazing speech.